How to double your salary, part 17, chapter 4, career ladder and career building. The This chapter uh, covers the preparation and execution of the second section of this book. To achieve anything in life, we need clarity and thought. Then a strategy is required to achieve it. Most important is developing a right attitude and action plan and regular review of the same and see that we are on the right track. Let's see what is the difference between a career ladder and a career building. In the evolution process, animals came after trees. Trees could harness the sunshine and make chlorophyll and carbohydrates to survive. Of course, they needed water and soil. But it did not stop them from surviving and growing all over the planet, except probably in deserts and hilltops and rocks, maybe. Animals did not have that problem. They could travel and collect their food. They not only survived but also evolved their brain. If you extend this theory to the jobs, I would say career ladder is the opportunity in the company we work for, where career can be built in the same company as the company grows. But if the company's growth is not commensurate with our expectation, then like animals, we have to look for opportunity to survive. So career building is that you build the career wherever you find an opportunity. Uh, that's what the, I followed career building rather than career ladder. When I found the career ladder in my first company, Hindustan Petroleum, was not meeting my standards or my requirements, then I took a job abroad and then build the career there. From there, I have looked at some other similar companies abroad in different countries, and then finally I built the career to suit my future requirements. Then I realized that I require an refinery experience, so I went into refinery jobs. Then I required a project experience. I took up a project jobs, and then finally I was the head of the design and process for a mega project for the second largest refinery in India. Now, the career leader ladder is nothing wrong with it. But like for example, if you take a public sector company, the ladders or the designations or the positions are fixed, and then sometimes even the career progress is also time bound. So that is the problem with the career ladder. Uh, but the career building, though it has got good opportunities, it's like animals are subjected to the prey and risk. Same way, each time you change a job, then you have got to, establish yourself, and you got to look at the cultural and the country requirements. Like for example, in the Gulf, it was difficult to reach the senior positions. So some of my friends who went to US also found in 80s till 19s, many of them were not accepting Asians in the senior positions. Today, you find many Indians occupying the top positions in multinationals. So that is the thing about the career ladder versus career building. Family also plays a very important point. I recall my father's famous maxim, say, you may retire in this job. I recall in my first job, I was temporarily allotted a big bungalow and lawn spanning some an acre as a temporary accommodation, of course. My parents visited me, and then they stayed for a month with me, and my father was very much impressed with the clubhouse, swimming pool, and several facilities. He wanted to play tennis, so he saw the tennis courts and said, "Hey, why don't you retire in this company? It has a nice recreational facilities and a government job." So then again he visited me when I was in Dubai, and when I was working for oil company there, he also said the same thing. This is a nice place, and you may plan to retire here. Again, when I was in Bapco, he saw my house and the company and the country, and then he was really impressed. And he said, "Yeah, now this is the place. Definitely, I would recommend you to retire." I'm sure if he had seen my job and work in SR, where just one uh, short of my retirement, I resigned and went to abroad for a double salary, he would have said the same thing. Uh, Nothing wrong with elders thinking that you have to retire, but then it is very difficult for a person with fired by the ambition to retire in one company. Uh, of course, my brother joined, in a middle management position in Bharat Petroleum and retired there as the head of the maintenance. Many people do that. Nothing wrong in it, but you should see whether it suits our goals and requirement or not. I would say that have a plan and track your progress. Career path is what we choose. Career ladder is that each company will have, and career building is what you can decide on. So for that, what you have to do is that you have to be familiar with the salaries in different countries and different companies, and you know, I realized when I was not able to get the jump which I require in HPCL. I went around the whole country in India, and then I found out more or less the salaries on the same level. Probably, maybe I would have met my target for one time, but the next target would have been much difficult. So I had to, look abroad, and then saw in Saudi Arabia, I got a salary almost like 10 times, and also there is a scope for improving my um, career. So I went almost in the same position as a senior management, as a middle management in as a staff engineer. Uh, so that's how I think one has to look at it. One more area I would say that the offshore opportunities. Offshore opportunities are always good and paying, and in Alaska and in oil drill companies, the salaries are more. Of course, most of the times this job will be on a single status. That means you cannot take your family there, and if it suits your requirement, then you can go for offshore. Otherwise, if like a family man, I never preferred the offshore jobs. So stick to your own industry and sail with the wind. So after 10 years of joining my first job, I realized I was not meeting my target. So I chose a job abroad, as I said. And before that, what happened? I'll tell you in a brief story. Uh, that I approached one agent, job agent, then who was giving me offers, and a couple of offers which he gave me, I rejected. Of course, some of them have got better salaries, some of them have got better companies. And one time he asked me, his name is Verma. He asked me, "Sir, every time you are rejecting the offer, are you, not satisfied, or you have another personal problems?" I told him that the job was everything is fine, company was good, salary was good, but then the designation was foreman, where I was a postgraduate. If I join as a foreman, then I would not be progressing well in my job. So the other company, the company itself is not very famous. So one day what I did was I took my all books, my papers, and my technical, published articles to Mr. Verma and explained to him that, see, now this is my you know, studies or my international papers published. So the jobs which you are offering are not commensurate with my qualification and experience. Verma was a little bit amused, and he said, your qualification and experience should result in uh, a profit or the advantage benefit to the company, then only they'll pay more, he said. That opened my eyes, because however good you may be a Nobel laureate, but the company should benefit from you. And that's how my philosophy has been all the time, to tell my subordinates or staff members, unless you double the contribution to the company, you cannot expect to double your salaries. So sometimes I got a job in Kuwait Petroleum, sometimes I got a job in uh, some other companies. Finally, I have taken up a job in Shell International, whose head office was in Houston, and it was a mega project. At that time, uh, MTBE project, about 700,000 tons, which is one of the top projects in the world at that time, and expansion of ethylene unit and styrene unit, and I was looking after the utilities. So that is the job which I took up. It was a good company, good designation, and good salary, and it was real good. The only problem I had was after about a year, when I joined the Saudi petrochemical company, uh, which was about 11 times my salary in HPCL. It was an American company, and I was really uh, appreciated there, and I got a good jumps. And uh, but what happened was, I was really not sure whether how to get the double salary from there, because I already had a very good peak salary there. So I was in a self-doubt whether if I join, will I getting a job or not. Uh, then I recalled one incident in during my college days. Of course, this look a little bit devious of the career, but it's very important point. That's what I want to make it. I had a friend by name Abhiram, and he and me joined a swimming class. The swimming was going on very well, and the coach was very young and dynamic. He tried to infuse confidence in us, and then he taught us floating. That's what people, specialists call it as pedaling. And without knowing a little bit of swimming, we could jump into the water and then pedal our feet and then go across the swimming pool. So this went on for about a week or 10 days. One day, what happened was, my friend Abhiram got engaged, and he was about to be married after a few months. So suddenly he didn't want to take a risk, and whenever he came to the pool, he was a little bit hesitant. And I just asked him what was the problem. He said, "No, I'm a little bit afraid because no, I'm not like you, a single bachelor. Now I'm committed, so don't want to take a risk." So I thought, okay, fine, and then I started pedaling. And each time I was doing pedaling very well, the coach used to encourage me and then said, why not you go a little bit farther and pedal, farther and pedal. You know, Suddenly my friend had a doubt, and he said, is the coach, he asked me, is the coach is interested in you crossing the swimming pool, or, he is pushing you beyond your limits? Suddenly, a fear went through my spine, and when I was about to pedal, then I couldn't, and then because of fear, I started going down. When the coach came and then pulled me up and then said, "You have been doing well. What happened to you today?" Then I told him I was a little bit afraid, and that's what happened to me. When you are afraid, then you will not even try to do things which you are capable. So after a few years in this Shell International, I stopped applying for jobs, and then as a result, I don't know what exactly was happening outside world, and suddenly a fear gripped me, and then I was thinking whether I would be able to get a better job than this or not. So to get over it took almost 1 year for me, and then I started attending this international conferences, and then uh, pursuing my technical field, and then learned simulations. Uh, Finally, I got a break in an international conference. I found out one Mr. Campbell was planning for a big project, mega project of relocating 3 refineries from Canada to Middle East. So he offered me a job, and about that job, Middle East, the Canadian project, I'll cover in my next episode. For the time being, what I want to do is you have to build your career, and for that you have to plan. And this is what I did was, uh, when I was in petrochemical plant, I had moved back to refinery, my original field, and there I was the head of the process, uh, which ultimately paved my way for my career. So my get crashed to the interview, and how I uh, got my first break as head of the process for a integration of 3 refineries will be in the next episode, uh, 18 of the how to double your salary. So this ends the uh, part 17, the part of the chapter 4 on career building. The career building will continue for a couple of times, couple of episodes, and I take leave of you. Signing off, Rajsekhar Polapragada.